Chao Lay are a nomadic people group who lived along the coast and various islands of the Andaman Sea for hundreds of years. The island of Phuket is one of the locations which has long been inhabited by the Chao Lay, especially Rawai Beach, which they have lived on since before development and the growth of tourism. The Chao Lay community gained national and global interest in the aftermath of the 2004 tsunami, from the issues that arose regarding the loss of their ancestral lands. Phuket has been inhabited by the Chao Lay for a long time, with foreign visitors documenting their presence on the island more than 300 years ago. The Chao Lay who have inhabited the area around Rawai Beach for hundreds of years consists of two groups, Urak Lawoi and Moken. Today there are 5 communities of Chao Lay living on Phuket. The Rawai Chao Lay Community is located in Mu Tu Tambon Rawai, Ampere Muang, Phuket, in the province of Phuket. According to the elders in the Rawai community, in the past, Rawai used to be a quiet, peaceful community. The beach is located on a cape and is surrounded by the Ga Bay to the east, Mai Pai Bay to the west, and an island right off the coast that shields the beach from strong winds and waves. The Rawai Beach community is thus safe from monsoon winds that come from both the southwest and from the northeast. It was through their expansive knowledge of these weather patterns and understanding of geography that their ancestors chose to settle in this area. On top of that, fresh water for daily use can easily be drawn from wells in the area as well as from the Laon Canal. It is also very convenient to travel to the surrounding bays and to the other islands from here, making it the ideal place for living, abundant with various sources of sustenance. There are 2 cultural trails with numerous points of interest throughout the community relating to the culture and traditions of Chao Lay and Rawai. The first trail, which takes you from the pier to the sacred stones, comprises of 12 points of interest. The second trail takes you from the large tamarind tree to the Lobong corner, and that too has 12 points of interest. Now let's begin our walk through the trail. First point of interest, large tamarind tree. This is a gathering place as well as a point of respect for Chao Lay. King Rama IX visited Rawai in 1959, and this is where His Majesty stood. Royal footage and still photographs reflect that moment when His Majesty walked in the village. There were thatched huts under tall coconut trees and boats beached on shore and in the sea. Chao Lay appreciated his kind visit and called this area the Royal Path, or the path walked by His Majesty the King. Second point of interest, tsunami escape route. This pathway is a route which Chao Lay that live further up from the beach use in order to access the beach to get to their boats, fish traps, or to sit and rest under the large tamarind tree at the edge of the water. This route is the only one that connects the houses in the community to the sea, and thus it has much importance. In the event of a tsunami, the Chao Lay will use this route to escape from the edge of the sea to higher ground, since it connects to the alley that leads to the main road opposite Sawang Arom Temple. Third point of interest, food and snack stalls. Next, there is a stall belonging to the Chao Lay that sell food and snacks. We may stop at this stall to buy snacks or drinks. Normally, the Chao Lay are not very good at selling things, especially when it comes to making food and snacks for sale, even with all the many potential customers in the village. But these days, these stalls are becoming more and more popular. They sell particularly well during the school breaks when the children are playing around and get hungry often. The children go and ask their parents for money to buy snacks and drinks. Chao Lay parents often pamper their kids, especially when it comes to snacks and junk food. And so the kids usually have anywhere from 10 to 100 baht in their pockets to buy snacks every day. Next to the food stall, there is a house belonging to Uncle Nang and Auntie Mi, who make delicious snacks. If you come by this way, you might see Auntie Mi making delicious snacks. Some of the snacks she makes are local Urak Lawai desserts, such as Walan dessert, meaning bald head, or Tupok Puloy Buloy in Urok Lawai language, we would be able to try warm, freshly made sweets here. Fourth point of interest, Umong Well. The well here is called Takatwa Umong, or Uncle Umong Well, and is an old well that got its name from the Chao Lay man who dug it. It used to be an earth well without a rim and surrounded by wild noina trees. Today, you will see that there are two wells. Before, Umong Well just consisted of one small well, but as the village grew, Chao Lay came together and bought large concrete rings to line the inside of the well and set up pumps by the well to pump out the water. However, the water wasn't enough to match the demand, and so another, larger well was dug. As the Chao Lay used the large well, the water in the small well next to it eventually dried up. Today, the locals still use the water from the well for bathing and washing their clothes. In this flourishing town that is a world-class tourist destination with luxury hotels, swimming pools, and beautifully landscaped gardens that all require plenty of water for tourists to use and enjoy to the fullest, the original inhabitants of the island live a life of hardship with limited resources and infrastructure. Fifth point of interest, Deep Well. Deep Well, or Daka Dalap, is a large well that the locals helped dig together. The water in the well used to be safe to drink, but subsequent development to the surrounding area caused changes in the environment and led to contamination in the water, making the well unusable. On top of that, the children in the community often play around here and throw toys and different objects down into the well. Around the well there was an open space that was cool and shaded by trees, but now the trees have been removed and the wall has been extended by the people on the other side of the well. Sixth point of interest, Old Swamp Area. This area used to be a swampy area, or kubak in Urok Lawai language. Now we have to use our imagination to picture what it may have looked like. During the rainy season, there would be water trapped in the swamp, and different plants grew in and around the swamp area. The Chao Lay then gathered these plants for food and other purposes. Some of these plants were morning glory, water mimosa, white lotus, and different reeds. Seventh point of interest, Urok Lawai houses. The Rawai Chao Lay Community currently has a population of over 2,000, or 240 households, living on an area of land that is about 30,000 square meters. The Chao Lay community is divided into three groups. The first group is Banbon, or upper quarter, which is located further back from the sea. The second group is Ban Praok, eastern quarter, which is located on the east side along the shore and is not far from the sea. The third group is Ban Pratok, the western quarter, which is located on the west side and has Moken people living there as well. It is the most crowded of the three quarters. In 2015, with cooperation of the Rawai Chao Lay and their network, the area was developed to be a community tourist location to see the life and culture of Chao Lay people. Several pathways were developed and improved, houses were painted, and the spirit houses were cleaned in order to develop the community as a source of learning for outside people. But with land disputes and court cases dragging on, the people lose hope and the area begins to deteriorate again. Eighth point of interest, multi-purpose hall and community yard. This multi-purpose hall was originally used as a community learning center, but later became a multi-purpose hall used for storing the community's belongings such as tables and chairs. It is also used as a place to perform ceremonies, to hold formal meetings, or to have meetings when it is raining and not possible to meet out in the open. Next to it is the area in which ceremonies are performed. The most important ceremony of the Rawai community is the bathing ceremony of sacred water, which is held at the same time other Chao Lay communities are holding the boat floating ceremony, which is around the 6th lunar month, or May, and the 11th lunar month, or October. Rawai Community does not have a boat floating ceremony because the early shamans followed the traditions of sacred water. If you would like to see the boat floating ceremony, you'll have to go to the Lam Tukke or Sapam communities. Ninth point of interest, Old Hut. The old hut in the Chao Lay community in Rawai is very rare because it is mostly made out of natural materials and thus is in constant need of repair. This lattice hut belongs to Aunt Manning. It is about 40 years old. The bamboo needed to build the hut was brought all the way from Promthep Cape. The wall of the hut was made of woven coconut leaves and is surrounded by bamboo sticks. The roof was also made out of woven coconut leaves. The pillars used in the hut are also old wooden poles. In the olden days, in order to cut wood, they would have to go to Hay Island, or Coral Island, Bon Island, and Lone Island. After all the building materials were collected and ready, there would be the ceremony of erecting the very first pillar. After that, the building of the hut would commence and would take altogether about a month to complete. As this hut and others like it begin to decay, there really should be efforts made towards preserving these old huts, including the stories of each house as they link the people to the area, its geography, climate, and local resources. 10th point of interest, Christian Church. The Christian church at Rawai was built about 2 years before the tsunami. Christianity came to the Chao Lay community more than 50 years ago. In the past, the religious activities were held on the patio of Manning's house, which back then was a small bamboo wooden hut with a thatched roof. Today, the Rawai Church worship God every Sunday around 10 a.m., since it is also a family day. They come to church to study the Bible and sing praises to God to encourage each other to follow in the teachings and lifestyle of Jesus Christ. You can see that in the Rawai Chao Lay community, there are many different religions that are followed. There are groups that follow Buddhism, but a majority of them follow the old beliefs and worship the spirits of their ancestors. This is reflected in the community's rituals, such as the bathing ceremony, the making merit ceremony in their houses, and other similar ceremonies. In addition, there are those who follow Islam and those who follow Christianity, the latter of which often meet at this church. Regardless of their different beliefs, everyone here is Chao Lay and also Thai, having lived on this land for a long time. This is all a part of what creates cultural diversity in Thai society. 11th point of interest, Moken Shacks. If you walk towards the west side, you'll come across the Moken Shacks. This group of shacks is very crowded, and the shelters are made of a wide variety of different materials. Some of the shacks aren't very durable or permanent, and many of them are in a constant state of disrepair. The Moken are a group of Chao Lay that used to live on their boats and gained their livelihood from the sea during the dry season or the northeast monsoon season. They would then set up shelters or shacks along the shore during the rainy season or the southwest monsoon season. Their lifestyle is therefore nomadic, and they're not familiar with livelihoods other than living off the sea, diving for fish and sea creatures, and gathering food from the forest and familiar environments. When the Moken finally had to settle, the transition to a sedentary lifestyle was a difficult one. The children had to attend school, and the confines of the four walls of the classroom were very different from the sea and the beaches which had been playground and classroom of their parents and ancestors. 12th point of interest, Lobong Corner. Although the Uruk Loy and Moken are Chao Lay with similarity in culture, these groups have their own language and identity. The Moken and Uruk Loy languages are not mutually intelligible. The communication between the two is not possible other than a few words that are similar in both languages. We have seen the balai, or shrine where the Uruk Loy worship in the area near the headland. It is in this area where we can also see the place of worship of the Moken people. There is the ceremony of paying respect to the spirits of the ancestors, called Nien Lobong, which is usually held in the 5th month of the lunar calendar. The most important problem for continuing the ceremony is the passing away of old shamans. Right now, there isn't a Moken shaman left in the Rawai community. The only community in Thailand that still holds this festival regularly is the Moken community on Surin Islands, Phang Province. It is the only Moken community that is able to relatively maintain their customs and traditions compared to the other Moken communities in Thailand. As for the Moken community on Rawai Beach, the people are gradually beginning to lose their language and cultural identity. The trail ends here. We hope you learn a short history of the community as well as the current situations faced by the indigenous Urak Lawai and Moken people. Let's think about sustainable development and how no one should be left behind in our present global agenda. Perhaps Thailand, particularly Phuket, needs to think of an alternative path to development that is inclusive enough to count Chao Lay as partners in such development.